guys, and welcome to the ultimate guide for nailing your first date. Now there might be times when you match with a girl on online dating, or maybe you've set a date with a girl you have just met, but you really don't know how to act on a date. Not even that, you don't even know how to set the date, or maybe you know how to set the date and you're able to set the date, but now it's the moment of truth. You need to go out there and you need to meet the girl, and you really don't know how to act to end it in a way where you can land the second date. And in this video, I'm going to teach you everything there is to know to have a successful date where the girl actually likes you and she wants to meet you again. Now, since the past 7 years of being a dating coach, I've had the experience of helping men firsthand and knowing about their dating insights. And not only that, my past 10 years of going out, meeting beautiful women, going out on dates have also given me a lot of experience, which I want to share in this video with you. I've broken down my experience into a process that you can follow, a step-by-step process which will help you get better at your dating game instantly. Now, some of you might be like, hey man, I'm not talking to any girl right now. But that's alright guys, it doesn't really matter, because in this video what I'm going to teach you is also going to help you when you're going out and approaching girls, or when you're talking to girls on online dating applications, because what I'm going to teach you is going to help you form deeper connections with women. And honestly, this is the kind of video, a missing puzzle that I would have wanted in my journey, which would have really helped me accelerate my dating game, because I know it took me a lot of time, a lot of hit and trials of going out on bad dates, having miserable dates to really learn the skill. And before I even start, I want to share the experience of my first date. Now, my first date was back in Singapore, where I was learning game and where I was learning social skills, and this was back when I was 17. So I did a couple of approaches and I managed to get one number. And this girl, I googled online how to text a girl, and I got these weird pickup lines. So I texted this girl, and somehow I was able to set a date with her. Now, I set a date with her, and this was my first date, so I was pretty excited about this. I was pretty nervous as well. I had no clue what to do, and there was no informational content on dates, and I was searching online. I couldn't find anything which was relevant. All the videos that I was finding was, 5 dating mistakes, or what you need to do on your date, or dating tips, 5 simple dating tips that is going to help you have an effective date. And it was just so general that I didn't know what to believe. And it was good information, but there was no actionable steps. And that is what I'm going to give you in this video. So I set up my first date with this girl, and I set up a date in a Japanese restaurant. So it was like a floor seating, and this was the first time I was actually going out on a date with a girl. And even in some of the food courts or the restaurants, you have that weird smell, so I was not accustomed to that. So I went inside the restaurant and I was trying to spot the girl, and it was floor seating, so I could just see like everyone over there. And I spotted the girl, which I thought was the girl, and I went over there and I sat with the wrong girl. And I started talking to her. I didn't even realize that this was the wrong girl, because this girl I think I had met like a month ago, and it took me a month to set the date, which was actually pretty wrong, and I will explain in this video why. But as soon as I realized maybe I fucked up, because she was texting me, where are you? And as soon as I saw my phone, I'm like, okay, who am I sitting with? And I'm trying to talk to this girl, and it was just a weird situation. I got up and I went to her, and I went to the next table and I sat with her, and then I started talking. So it was a miserable date beginning, I would say. And then I started talking to her, and I realized there's not much to talk about. I don't know what to talk about. All right, all those general tips were good. They were mostly mindset tips. I really don't know what to talk about. Now, on the date, you're having a conversation, trying to have a conversation, and this girl ordered some sushi, and this was the first time I was eating sushi. So I took sushi and I put it in my mouth, and I didn't know it was raw fish. It looked so colorful. I didn't know it was raw fish. And I did eat fish before that, and I was like, fuck, I need to puke. Right? So I stand up and I exit the restaurant. And that was my first date. And I don't want anyone to go through that experience, because it took a lot of fucking time to set that date, a lot of effort to set that date. But towards the end, it was miserable. Nothing happened. The girl actually showed me a middle finger while she was leaving the restaurant. I was there with my friends outside, and it was just horrible. So in this video, I've decided to cover everything that I've learned in my past 10 years of experience and 7 years of experience coaching different men around the globe about how to get better with their dating lives. And guys, I want you to listen carefully, because this is also a short and edited version of my latest program called the Attraction Academy, where I coach you personally on how you can get better with your dating life. So in the past, we've had more than thousands of men achieve their dream dating life from all around the globe. And guys, I'm going to share whatever they learned, whatever processes they followed, and simplify it in a step-by-step process that you can follow in this workshop that I've created for you. And this is going to be what I'm going to drop tomorrow. And I want you to click the link, register for the workshop if you haven't already, because this is going to be something that has never been shared before. This is going to be the knowledge that people charge thousands of dollars for. And if you've liked the event so far, if you've liked all the videos, and if you think this is valuable content, I would strongly recommend you join the workshop, because in this workshop, in this masterclass, it's going to be completely clear to you what kind of processes should you follow for your dating life so that you can date 3 to 5 high quality women every week. And I know it might sound like a dream right now. Some of you might not have any dates, but guys, once you check out the workshop, once you check out what I've created for you, it's going to blow your mind. This thing is going to be legendary. Now, that being said, let's get down to the first thing. Now, what I see, a lot of guys have faulty dating funnels, which means the dating funnel is not on point. Most men, what they do is they randomly go out and ask women on dates. What they lack is a consistent system of getting new dates, of setting new dates, and meeting new women. And that is the biggest problem in most men's dating funnel. So if that is the problem in your dating life, maybe you're not meeting that many attractive women, you better fix your dating funnel. And what I mean by dating funnel is pretty simple. So either you meet a person through online dating, either you meet a person through cold approach, which is just going up to a random person and talking to them, or either you meet a girl through social circle, or even some Instagram or some social media applications. What you need to do after that is get her number, send her a text, try to raise the emotions on the text. Because when you're feeling good while talking to her, she's feeling similar emotions. And at that point of time, try to schedule a call with her. Try to schedule a call because over the call, it builds massive comfort and builds massive rapport. And that's what you want to do before you want to set the date. So I will always text the girl, set up a call, because if I don't set up the call, it's also part of my screening process. I don't want to go out on dates with girls who I'm not compatible to or with the girls I'm not attracted to. So it's important you set up the call, you talk to the person so you get an idea about what the other person is all about. And more than that, guys, it will make setting up the date so much easier for you. I know a lot of people might be like, oh, what do I say on the call? Or, how do I talk on the call? Don't freak out just yet. We're going to talk about it. But I want you to set up the call instead of just setting up dates through text, because first of all, it will be a better screening process so that you don't go out on dates with, gold diggers or girls who are not even compatible or girls you're not even attracted to. Secondly, it will help you get an idea about the other person. And also on calls, it's much easier to set the dates. Now, once you're on call, try to raise the emotions, and it's much easier to raise the emotions of the girl, pump up her emotions as well. What I mean by that is basically when I'm talking to the girl, hey, how's it going? What are you doing? I'll start by being really calm, being centered. And as I'm going on the call, I'll pump up my own emotional state when I'm talking to her, just like how I'm doing right now. And what will happen is it will transfer my state. It's called the law of state transference, which basically means whoever you're talking to, whatever you're feeling at that point of time, that state will get transferred to the other person. So that's what I'm doing on a call. The point is, you don't want to go really high energy, because if the girl is not that high energy, she's gonna get disinterested in the starting of the call. Meet her where she's at emotionally and then gradually pump up the emotions. Now, once you pump up the emotions and once you're feeling good while talking to her, now this is where most men go wrong. What they do is they end up continuing that conversation for 50 minutes, 1 hour. That is what you don't need to do, all right? You need to completely stay away from that. As soon as you're feeling good while talking to her, it's time to go in for the close. And by close, I mean trying to set the date. So when I'm talking to the girl, maybe it's like 10 to 15 minutes. Generally, I would try to keep the conversation under 20 minutes, because a lot of guys, what they do is they end up talking to the girl and the girl is like, hey, I gotta go, and it kills the vibe of the conversation. So it's very important that once the emotions are at peak, you go in for the close. And I'll tell you exactly how to go in for the close or set the date. But first, you go in for the close, all right? Understand the structure first. Now, once you're going in for the close, few things to remember is always go in for the close in 2 to 3 days. If you're setting the date, maybe a week after, it's not going to work out because you need to do a lot of follow-up. So it's always important to set the date 2 to 3 days going forward. So what happens once you set the date 2 to 3 days forward, there's less chances of flaking. So once the girl says yes, you're good to go, what you need to do is 1 or 2 days later, you need to text her, and I'll tell you exactly how to follow up with her. What happens if the girl says no? If the girl says no, I would personally repeat the whole process once, which means that I'll text her again, I'll try to build that comfort, try to build that trust again, schedule a call again, get her on the call, raise her emotions again, or maybe this time I'll just go through text, all right? I'll just go through the route of texting, and I'll text her and I'll get to know her over there, build more comfort and trust, and then go in for the close. Now, personally, I would always go in for the close when the emotions are at a high peak point, because at that time, the girl is more likely to say yes. If she flakes again or if she cancels, all right, I'll repeat the process. But if she says no, I'll also repeat the process once more. Now, this process is only supposed to be repeated once, because if you repeat it over and over again, you'll fall into a needy category. So the point is, you repeat it once, you give her a benefit of doubt that maybe, you don't know, maybe something, she's busy or she canceled because of something. Now, once you repeat the process and she flakes again or she says no again, at that time, I would generally cut the girl out of my dating funnel and I would start focusing on other girls, because at that time, she's just wasting time being there, or she's just wasting time. And I don't want to invest time and effort in meeting someone who's not even interested to meet me. Now, let's talk about how to go in for setting the date. And this is where most guys mess up, because either they're too eager, they try to set the date too fast, or either they delay too much, they delay the whole process and land up in the friend zone. So what you need to do is you need to understand the objective of you texting her. It's very simple: to set the date, to meet her out on a physical location where you can get to know her. If you're texting her and you're trying to make it sexual through text, or if you're texting her and you're trying to talk about, small talk, maybe how's your day going, or good morning, good night, all of that is going to kill her attraction. It's going to repel the girl. So do not do that. Do not do that mistake, because the objective of the text is simple, guys. You need to meet her. You need to meet her on a physical location where you're actually going to talk to her and get to know her. So to go in for the close, what I would personally do is I would ask the girls for one specific day in a week. For example, I tell the girl, hey, are you free on Saturday at 8 p.m? Now, before this, guys, I also want to tell you that, when I'm on a call with her, I'm also asking her questions to know more about her schedule, to know more about her lifestyle. Maybe she's a girl who goes to sleep at 10 p.m. Then I'm not going to ask her at 9 p.m. All right. So I'm going to customize the day and the time according to what I think would be valid for her schedule, which she could accommodate. Now, once I do that, the girl is either going to say yes or she's going to say no, I'm busy during that day, and she's going to recommend herself. If she really wants to meet me, she's going to recommend herself that I'm not free on Saturday, I'm not free on Thursday, but I'm free on Friday. Why don't we meet on Friday? Now, another thing is, when I tell this to a guy who's just learning game, he's like, one day, if I just tell her one day out of the whole week, she'll not be free. It will reduce my probability. But what you need to understand, man, is it's not going to reduce your probability. It demonstrates high value, that you're a high value person who has got things going on in his life, and you're free on one day at a particular time. You're not a guy who's always free or who's always going to be available. And that is what you demonstrate by doing this, by going through this process for setting the date. So that's what I would always do, is I would tell the girl, hey, are you free on Saturday at 8 p.m. or are you free on Thursday at 6 p.m? And then she gets back to me. But before that, I've also calibrated the level of interest of the girl, and I've made sure that the level of interest of the girl is high. Now, one guy asked me, hey man, what if she's not interested in me? Then why would she go out on a date with you? It's simple as that. Now, if the girl doesn't like you and she's going out on a date with you, that means that she has extremely low standards, or she's a gold digger, or maybe she's just going out there to have a free meal. So I would say drop her. Why focus on a girl who's not interested in you? Why focus on her? Drop her and move on to the next one. Now you know exactly how to set the date, and the next question is, what kind of location do you want to select for your first date? Now, a lot of guys tend to overthink about this, but guys, I want to give you certain parameters that you can use to select the perfect location. Now, there is no perfect location, so to speak, but a location that would work better than the other location should be convenient for both of you, and you should always select a location which is not that pricey. You should not go to an expensive club or a really expensive restaurant or a fine dining place, because that's not how a first date should go. Instead, I would generally select a coffee shop, or I would generally select a bar, a local bar, which is near my place, near her place, or maybe in the middle, so that I can meet her over there. And guys, I'll also give you my personal favorite 5 date ideas which are going to help you with this towards the end, so watch till the end. Now, once you're selecting the location, make sure it's an intimate location. It's a location where you can actually go and talk to her. Not a loud venue like a club, or not a movie theater. I know a lot of you guys might be having your first dates in movie theaters, and that's probably the worst idea, because you cannot talk to the girl, you don't get to know anything about her, she's not investing, and it's just a failed date. So select a location where you can actually talk to her, where you can actually get to know her. It can be a local bar, it can be a coffee shop, and of course I'm going to give you my 5 favorite date ideas towards the end. Now, once you've selected the location, the next thing is what kind of clothing you want to wear on the date. Now, I would not suggest you overdress. Select the clothing according to the venue. If it's a venue where you want to wear something casual and it's a venue, that's all right. If it's a local bar, you don't want to wear something too formal. You don't want to wear a suit on the first date, all right? You want to wear something casual, something that is fashionable, but something that is relaxing as well. And if you select an expensive dining location, maybe a rich guy, then what you need to do is you need to dress according to the location, all right? You need to dress according to the location, but I would still suggest not selecting an expensive place for the first date, because I've had my regret with this, guys. I've had my deepest regret with this. I selected, a really expensive place. The bill came out to be like 15 grand, and I was just looking at the girl like, what the fuck, right? Because she ordered this hookah which was like 7 to 8,000 rupees. And guys, I would strongly suggest not selecting a really expensive place for the first date. Maybe if things work out, you can treat her to a nice dinner or something, but not on the first date. And there's a reason for that, and the reason is you don't want to impress her based on your money. You don't want to impress her based on the resources that you have. You want to impress her based on the personality that you have, based on who you are as a person. So avoid expensive places, because you don't want to make it look like an event. You don't want to make it look like, oh, you don't go out on dates and this is a very big event for you. All right, this should be like a casual meet. Don't make it a big deal. And I know a lot of people watch Bollywood, a lot of people watch these movies where it shows the guy going with roses and the guy going, dressed up completely nice with a suit and a bow tie or maybe a tuxedo, right? And guys, that's all the fucking movies. That doesn't happen in real life. And when that happens in real life, funny enough, I was just talking to this girl the other day and she went out on 3 dates consecutively, and she's like, 2 guys got me roses, 1 guy got me like white flowers, and she was laughing about it, like who gets flowers on the first date. You might feel like it's a sweet gesture, but it can actually miserably mess up your first date because the girl will lose attraction. She'll be like, this guy's overdoing this. For him, maybe it's such an event to meet a beautiful girl like me. And guys, you don't need to do that. Now you've set the location, you know exactly what kind of fashion you want to wear, what kind of clothing you want to wear, and now it's time to follow up with the girl for the date that you have set. And this is where most guys mess up, and this is where most of my friends mess up, most of my clients mess up as well. Now what they do is they set the date 1 or 2 weeks in advance, and what they do is they stop all communication with the girl, and after 2 weeks pass by, they text her, hey, I'm gonna meet you at this place at 6 p.m. and the girl's like, what the fuck? We confirmed this 2 weeks ago for sure, but you didn't even text me, you didn't even want to know me. And girls, they feel that, okay, this guy just doesn't even want to know me. Why does he want to meet me if he's not texting me? So that is where most men go wrong. That's the reason I was telling you that always set the date 2 to 3 days in advance, all right? Not more than that, because more than that, you need to follow up a lot, and guys, it's just not good. It's just not good because there's more probability of the girls flaking on you if you set the date 1 or 2 weeks in the future. So how do you follow up? Now, personally, what I would do is I would text the girl during the day, or maybe, I text her on Tuesday and I set the date for Thursday, right? So I'll text her on Thursday itself. What I would text her is, hey, listen, I'm running a bit late. I'm just working. Work is taking a little bit more time, so I'd probably be half an hour late to this location. Now, what you're doing with this is, first of all, you're following up in a very cool way because you're assuming that the date would happen. Why wouldn't the date happen? Now, if you ask her, hey, are we still on? What it shows is that you're not confident in yourself and you're not a high value man, because a high value man, he would always assume attraction. He would always assume that the girl is into him. So why would the date not be confirmed? And using this principle, you can text the girl, and you can also have some innovative text. Like, I would text the girl, hey, listen, are you going to drive to that location, or are you going to, cab it? Because I realize that location, the parking is really full and you might not find the right parking. So I would suggest you take a cab. All right. Now what this does is, I'm not asking the girl on the day of the date that, hey, are we still on? Are we still going out? Because I'm not at the mercy of the girl. All right. I'm assuming that the date is confirmed, and why wouldn't it be confirmed? And she is going to come out. And no matter what the girl texts you, it doesn't really matter what the girl texts you, but she also gets an idea, okay, this plan is on, the plan is confirmed. 90% of the times, the plan is going to be confirmed if you follow this strategy, because the probability of flakes is really going to go lower. But if she still says no, and if she flakes at the end moment, if she flakes at 5 p.m. and the date is at 6 p.m., what do you do then? Now, if a girl flakes on me, I make sure that I address that situation, because 90% of the men won't address that situation because they don't want to lose the girl. But you have to understand, you have to set stronger boundaries if you really want to take it forward, if you really want to meet the girl and you don't want to meet her on her convenience. And if you don't want to be taken for granted, you need to have strong boundaries. You need to have strong boundaries so that you're not at her convenience. You don't meet her always at her convenience, all right? Now, if you're always available for the girl, she's going to take you for granted. So what I do is, if she flakes on me, I make sure that it is known that, I don't appreciate this kind of behavior. I'll give her a text like, the lack of respect for my time is a big turn off. Now, most men don't do this, but I would strongly suggest you do this, because even if you lose the girl, all right, in any case, even if you lose the goal, at least you have set a strong boundary, a strong frame. And what I've realized doing this over and over again is, actually you don't lose the goal. The girl, realizes that this guy is special, this guy is different, he has the balls to say things that other men don't, and she would get more attracted in most cases. But even if you lose the girl, this is not the girl you want to hang out with, because she doesn't respect your time, all right? So you need to respect your time so that other people respect your time. Now, with that being said, I also want to say, don't be reactive, all right? Don't be reactive. If a girl flakes on you, maybe once or maybe even the second time, don't be reactive. Don't go and block her. Don't be angry. Don't send her, mean texts, because I've seen a lot of people do that as well, and it doesn't work out. Understand, you're just setting a frame, all right? You're just setting a boundary so that she doesn't step over your boundary. And you're not trying to be mean to her. You're not trying to be an asshole or rude to her. And that's all that you're doing, all right? And if she accepts your boundary and she's willing to work on it, why not? But if she's not, cut her out. Now, once a girl agrees on the date, the next thing that you need to do is you need to actually go out on the date. Put the effort in to go to the location and go out and meet that girl. Now, if you're nervous at this point, I can completely understand, because having a lack of knowledge of knowing what to do and what not to do, that shit can make you nervous, all right? It can make you a little anxious, but just be yourself And if you're nervous, just follow these 3 simple activities that you can do. Focus on your breathing, all right? Focus on your breathing. Let go of your thoughts. Let go of your thoughts. Just focus on your breathing. Deep inhales, deep exhales. The second thing that you can do is focus on the next step. What is the next step? You wear your shoes. What is the next step? You get into your car. What is the next step? You drive towards the date location, or you maybe cab it towards the date location. What is the next step? You text the girl, you meet her over there. Focus on the next step. You don't need to focus on the future or the past. You don't need to think about what is going to happen once you meet the girl. Let all of that organically happen. But what you need to do, you just need to focus on the next step. Another thing you can do to change your emotional state is listen to your favorite music, or listen to your favorite music which gets you in an excited state. And I'm sure you might have some tracks, and I generally listen to hip hop if I want to get in a pumped up state, and that really helps. So if when I'm going to the date location, I'll put on some music, all right? Blast on some music in your car, or maybe, in your headphones or earphones, whatever, and get in a good, energetic, emotional state. Now, I don't want you to get worried if you're nervous, because we're going to cover everything from how to greet her, or how to meet her, how to talk to her, what kind of conversations you want to have. You can get deeper insight about her lifestyle, about who she is as a person, and how to build a deeper connection. So don't worry at all. So first thing is, do not try to be someone you're not. I see this with a lot of guys. They're going out on a date and they watch some YouTube videos, they read some articles, girls like bad men or girls like assholes, and they're like, okay, I would be an asshole on this date. I would pretend to be someone I'm not. Now, girls can actually see through that. Alright, girls can see through that, and they can see that you're pretending to be someone who you're not. So please don't do that. Be your authentic self, be who you are as a person, and girls would love you for that. Now, when you're going to meet the girl, have the right body language. Have the right body language. Don't be slouched, don't be lethargic, and have the right state as well. Don't be completely out of it. I mean, you have to be in the present moment. When you go and greet her, and this is, one of my ex-girlfriends I was dating for a long time made me realize this, and even as a social skills coach, I was not aware about this, all right? Like, how I used to greet her, I just used to be like, hey, nice to meet you, just sit in the car, right? But the thing you need to understand is, when you're greeting a person for the first time, this is what sets your first impression. So greet her with excitement, greet her with a smile, and have deep eye contact when you're greeting her. You should genuinely seem interested when you're trying to greet her, because if you don't, the impression is going to fail from the start. So always greet her with a smile on your face, with the right body language and deep eye contact. Another thing I would do is I would give her a compliment, because girls take a lot of time to get ready with their dresses, with their makeups. They probably take an hour just to get ready, just to look pretty, to come out there on that particular date. So what I would do is, when I'm greeting the girl, I would also give her a compliment. Hey, you're looking beautiful. Or hey, I'm sure that makeup or that wig, that dress would have taken a lot of time. You're looking beautiful. Now, once I do that, of course, it gives certain emotions to the girl. And another thing I focus on doing is giving her a hug as soon as I meet her, because that breaks the barrier of physicality. Now, if you're not comfortable, I would suggest, if you're not sure about it, do not do it. Because if you're half-hearted in being physical with her, if you're having like fear and you're hugging her like this will just make situation weirder. All right, so don't do that if you're not sure about it. But if you think you can pull it off, and initially, guys, when I was doing this for the first few times, I failed as well. There was awkward side hugs and, awkward hug where she's trying to handshake, and all of that is all right. Okay, all of that is a part of the journey itself, because that will teach you how to be more confident. So what I do is I just hug the girl as soon as I meet her, and I would not squeeze her tight. All right, this would just be a very normal hug, and I would hug her and I'll take a step back. Why? Because I want to break the barrier of physicality, the barrier of me being physical with her from the start. Because once you hug the girl feels that, okay, this guy is just a touchy guy. He's just a guy who's that expressive with everyone, all right? It's just very normal for him to just hug another girl. And if you're a guy who thinks that, oh my God, hugging a girl is a big thing, then what is going to happen is, once you're doing that, that state is going to get transferred to her, that, oh fuck, he's not comfortable doing that. Why is he even doing that? Because it would be in your body language. You would be jittery, and you would have all those movements that you really don't want to have, and the girl can just sense that. Now, once you greet her, it's always important that you lead as the man. And what I mean by leading is, you walk in front of her. You're not walking behind her. You're not following her. Maybe you're going to a restaurant. Maybe you're going to a coffee shop. All right. Maybe you just meet her in the restaurant. At that point, just sit down. All right. Just sit down. But if you meet her outside, make sure that you're leading. And by leading, I don't mean just start running towards the restaurant or the cafe. Keep her engaged. Walk a little bit in front of her and lead her towards the cafe, the restaurant, wherever you want to sit. Now, I would always select a location which has sort of a round table, because I don't like sitting across. That makes it hard for me to be physical with the girl, or makes it hard for me to talk to the girl as well sometimes, right? If it's a location which has some sort of background music. So I would always select a table where, if it's a square table like this, I would tell the girl to sit on my left side or my right side, instead of just being, forward, like instead of just being face to face. And if it's a round table, it's much better, because escalation and, touching her physically is going to be much easier for me. Now let's talk about the conversation part of the date, the verbal game part of the date, so to speak. Now I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, hey man, I want the best things to say verbally or the questions that I need to ask. And guys, I got you covered. Don't worry, that is going to happen towards the end. But for now, I want you to understand one simple thing. It doesn't matter what you say, but what matters is how you said it. And I've also made a whole video on mastering conversations, and I'll make sure that I add a link over here so you can check it out. But you still might be like, hey, I still want to know what to say, what to talk about. Now, one thing I want to tell you is, guys, always ask open-ended questions. And what I mean by open-ended questions is, I would not ask a girl questions which would require a one-word response or which would be sort of an automatic response. For example, you greet a lot of people and you're like, how are you? And the automatic response is, I'm fine. So I would try to stay away from the generic questions or the questions which has an automatic response, because I would actually want the girl to invest. So I would ask her different questions. I would probe deeper into certain topics. For example, if I ask her, so what do you do? Oh, is that something that you always wanted to do, or did you have some other passion? Oh, so that is what you're passionate about. And why are you passionate about it? Why are you so passionate about it? That's nice. And what are you doing about that? Now, one more thing I want to tell you with open-ended questions is, never make it seem like an interview mode. You still need to invest from your side, because a conversation is always two-sided. It's not just the other person investing, because that's not a conversation. That's just you asking her questions and going interview mode. So I would never go interview mode. I would always ask her a question, give a little bit of my input. And in terms of my input, it would be my experiences. I would share, whatever I feel about the particular topic we're talking about. I know you might be thinking, hey man, why don't you just give me some questions for the first date? So I've prepared some questions for you. Now, the first question is definitely going to be about what she does, all right? Because girls are really interested in what they're doing, and they would really want to share. Anyone is actually, if someone asks you what do you do and tries to probe deeper into it, you would be invested in the conversation. You would also be emotionally invested in the conversation, because that is something that is close to your heart. So I would ask her, what do you do? And I would probe deeper like that. The second question that can really help you to know the girl is what kind of influences she has had in her life. And I would just ask her, so are you a reader? Oh, what is the book that has influenced your life the most? Or some question like that. So I could also get to know a little bit about what really influences her, what really impacts her, and what her mindset is like. Now, when I'm talking to a girl, I'm also talking about her passions. What is she passionate about? What does she like doing? Where does she like going? If she's a person who's into traveling, who's passionate about traveling, where is the best locations that she has traveled to? And this gives me a really good idea about the girl. And to connect deeper, I can also go and ask her about her personal self. How is her relationship with her family, and where does her family live, and how many people are there in her family, and all of that. And guys, with this, of course, the girl has to emotionally invest in the conversation, right? And I will ask her a lot about her childhood as well. And this is how I get the girl emotionally invested on the date. Now, what you talk about and how you talk is sort of interrelated. Now, if you think about it, if you're talking about something that you're not really interested in, if you're talking about a topic that you really don't know much about, you would always be a little bit more quieter, a little bit more less engaged. But if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, if you're sharing an exciting story that happened with you, or an emotional experience that happened with you, what is going to happen is you're going to be much more engaged in the conversation. You're going to be much more certain in whatever you're saying, and you're going to enjoy the conversation a lot more. So talk about things that you're interested in and also the girl is interested in. Understand the concept of relatability. Talk about the things that you're interested in and see what clicks. See what the girl is also interested in, so that you can build that relatability that is required to build comfort and trust. Now, if you look at the components of communication, voice tonality comes on the second number. Voice or tone comes on the second number. So what kind of voice or tone do you actually need when you're talking to the girl? Now, if you have a voice or a tone where you're just monotone and you're talking like this, oh, so what did you do on the weekends? Oh, that's great, that's pretty nice. Now this is pretty bland, all right? This is pretty bland. It's not going to raise any emotions in the girl, and it's not going to make her feel anything. So instead, use your body to express yourself, all right? You use your subconscious communication. Be certain in whatever you're talking about. Take pauses to create that suspense, to create that sexual tension. And that is how you can also flirt with her. You can also flirt with her by playing with your facial expressions, by completely expressing yourself. And this is what is lacking in most of the dates, most of the first dates, I would say, is a lot of girls go out, they talk to men, and they're like, the guy was interesting, the guy seemed nice, but he was so bland. He didn't have much to offer. And why the girls feel that is because guys are generally thinking about, hey, am I saying the right things? Am I impressing her? Is she interested in me? One thing you need to understand, if the girl is out with you on the date, she could be anywhere in the world, but she chooses to be there. And it's your date. It's not just her date, all right? It's not you winning a lottery or you winning the prize, but both of you guys are out there together. You can be anywhere in the world. So definitely she is interested. That's why she's there. So don't complicate things. Don't go in a negative downward spiral, by thinking negative stuff. Instead, just focus on enjoying the conversation, enjoying her feminine presence, and talking about the things that you're passionate about. Also, at this point, the conversation is going good, and this is the point where you actually sexually escalate on the girl. And what I mean by sexual escalation is you try to build that sexual tension that, okay, that you there, it's a man to woman conversation, it's not a friendly conversation, and if you guys are left alone in a room, she should know what would happen just by you looking at her, all right? So build up the sexual tension, and how you build up the sexual tension is by enjoying the pauses. Now, a lot of guys freak out, when, there's a lot of silence on the date because they think that they need to invest, they need to fill in the silence, but that's wrong, all right? The silence is what you will use to build that sexual tension. You can just pause, look at her, and just tell her, hey, wow, you're looking beautiful, by the way. And that's how you build that sexual tension. So build that sexual tension and then physically escalate on her. Now, physically escalation basically means that you go in and you make the first move of touching her physically. And guys, don't think about it too much as well. What I would generally do is I would just start by touching her on places which are not that intimate. For example, I would high five the girl and hold her hand. Right? I would touch her on the shoulder, and then I will see how she's reacting to me, because I don't want to go all the way without being sure that she's comfortable. And consent is a big thing. So always see the girl, look at the girl, observe if she's comfortable with your touch, and only then proceed further. And if you want to know more about this, if you want to know more about how to make things sexual with a girl on the date, I've made a video. I'll add that link over here so you can check that video out. Now, I would like to give you my personal tips on having a successful date, and the first one is enjoying the present moment, enjoying her feminine presence, because a lot of guys, when they're out on the date, they're just thinking about taking the girl home or impressing the girl or how they are looking, and they're operating from within their heads. They're just thinking, right? And once you're thinking too much, what is happening is you're not in the present moment. Either you're thinking about how the future is going to look like, how the past was, did you mess up any move or something? So don't think anything of that sort. Don't overcomplicate things. And that's where I used to go wrong a lot of times. When I'm out on a date with a girl, I'm just thinking on, is she impressed? Is she impressed by, how I'm talking or what I'm saying? Is she relating to whatever I'm talking about? And guys, you don't need to think about all of that. Instead, you need to observe all of that. Observe all of that by looking at the girl, whether she's emotionally investing, whether she's investing in the conversation or not. And another thing is, when you're out on the first date, a girl will share a lot of things that she probably has not shared on the phone, or that she's probably not texted you, and you'll get to know a lot about her. At this point, don't be judgmental. I see a lot of guys, talking about a girl's past relationships, and they're like, how many relationships have you had or something? And the girl is like, 3, and what are your sexual experiences like? And first of all, you're probing too deep. And secondly, if the moment the girl feels that you are a judgmental guy, or she feels that judgmental vibe, she's not going to go home with you that night. She's not going to sleep with you. And that may also affect her interest levels, because she's going to judge you like, oh, this guy is judgmental. I don't know what he's thinking about me. I don't want to meet him again. So never show a judgmental vibe whenever you're out on a girl with a first date. Always be open-minded. Understand it's a different person. She has had a different experience in her life, and she's not the same person as you. Another thing that you want to do is play to win and not to not lose, which basically means after the date, try to invite her to a different location. Try to take her home as well, because if you don't try, you will never know. If you don't ask her, you will never know the answer to a question you have never asked. Now, if she says yes, that's cool. I take her to my place. If she says no, that's also all right. I would ask her, hey, when are we catching up the next time? And it depends if I'm interested in the girl or not, because guys, that will set the right expectation. Now, once you're almost done for the date, it's always important to set the right expectation for your date, which basically means setting up a next meet. If you are interested in the girl, telling her that, hey, I enjoyed spending my time with you, and I hope we get to do this again. Instead of just hoping you'd get to do this again, tell her, hey, when are you free next? We should definitely catch up. But don't look so eager, because the more eager you look, the more needy you look. So try to be calm, try to be centered whenever you're talking to her, whenever you try to go in for the follow-up close, for the second date close. But try to always set the right expectation. If you don't like the girl, do not set that expectation. Now it's time to end the date, and you're sitting with the girl in a coffee shop, or maybe in a bar or a restaurant, and it's time to get the bill. Now, a lot of guys are asking me, hey man, should I pay the bill for the girl? Hey man, should I make the girl pay, or should I go splits? Now, what I generally do, guys, is if I don't want to see the girl again, and this is something to each their own, I would say. This is my opinion on this. If I don't really want to see the girl again, I would go in for splits. I would call the check and I would be like, hey, why don't we just share this, or why don't we just split this? Because it really doesn't matter. I don't want to see her again. But if I want to see the girl again, I would not be as cheap, and I would be like, hey, I'm taking the first one. Why don't you take the next one? Now with that, I also set the frame that I'm not going to pay all the time, of course. Also, by following this strategy, a lot of girls, you know, who like traditional men who are paying for the first dates, right? A lot of girls are into that, and this is of course our social conditioning as well. So I would pay the first bill so the girl doesn't think that I'm cheap, and I would tell her, hey, why don't you take the next one? Why don't you take the next date? And this is one of the reasons why I said do not choose an expensive location. Do not choose a really expensive club or a bar where you have to pay 10 or 15,000 rupees just for one date, because you know you're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret it a lot, and you know even you wouldn't be able to enjoy the date. You would just be thinking about the bill, or you know when you're going back, you would be just regretting spending that amount on a girl you just met, who you don't even know you're gonna meet her again or not in your life. Now I've told you a few tips to have a successful date. I also want to tell you a few things that you completely want to avoid when you're out with the person you're meeting for the first time. Don't get too personal. As I've already mentioned, the more personal you get about her past relationships, about her sexual relationships, it's gonna give a judgmental vibe. So do not get too personal, dude, because you need to understand you're meeting that person for the first fucking time. So it's time to take a step back, relax, be centered, and not get too personal. All right. Imagine if a guy is asking you, you know, who you have slept with, how many girls you've slept with, and all of that. That just looks like a person is trying to corner you into something. So don't get too personal. Don't talk about politics or sensitive topics like religion, because of course you're meeting the person for the first time. You don't know about their political beliefs, and they might not match with your political beliefs, and that's all right. That's completely all right. But you don't want to have an argument on who's gonna, you know, win the elections, or which political party is gonna come in power or whatnot, because that really doesn't make any sense. It's not adding any value to your date. So don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, right? Don't be discriminatory about any religion or, you know, any political party, because that can spark an argument. All right, that can spark an argument, and you want to stay away from sensitive topics on the first date. Another thing where most guys mess up, and I've mentioned this, is being overly excited, being overly needy. So be centered, all right? Whatever you're doing, if you're trying to set the second date, if you're trying to talk to the girl, be centered. Instead of being completely super excited about whatever you're saying, just be calm and be centered. And because of being overly excited about the first date, a lot of men also forget their table etiquette. So, and what I mean is they just go there, they just order whatever they want, you know, they're eating quickly. Do not do that, all right? Eat at a calm pace, talk to the girl, and also let her order as well. You are not the person who's going to order for the both of you, okay? And I see a lot of guys doing that mistake as well, because they're too much in their heads that they're like, okay, we'll take two of these and whatnot. So make sure that you give her the menu, you give her the time to decide whatever she wants, you order whatever you want. Be calm, and when the food comes, just don't jump in the food right away. Understand, you're not out on the date to hog food, but you're out on the date to meet the girl, to get to know the girl, and she should feel the same. So I hope you enjoyed the videos we have created for you so far. Let me know in the comment section how you like the videos, and apart from that, guys, the event is not over, because tomorrow we're going to have the masterclass, and this masterclass is going to be a closed door invite only event. So if you've not registered for it, I would strongly suggest you do it by clicking the pinned comment or the link in the description below, and join the event by just keying in your full name and your email address. Whatever I'm going to share in this event is going to be a synopsis. It's going to, you know, bring all of these things that we have taught you in the last 4 days. It's going to bring everything together, and guys, this is going to be mind-blowing, because knowledge like this has never been shared before, and I'm sure a lot of coaches watching this might hate me for this, but guys, I want each and every one of you to live the dream dating life that you want, because I personally believe each man deserves to date the kind of woman that he's attracted to, and no man should compromise with the quality or the quantity of woman that he wants to go out with. So click the link below and register for the event, because this is going to be a 2-hour masterclass, which is going to be extremely value packed, and whatever I'm going to share in this masterclass has never been shared before, and probably is never going to get shared in the future as well. So join the masterclass, because this is your opportunity to change your dating life this year. Now, as I promised, I also want to share my 5 personal best favorite date ideas that can actually help you build more intimacy with a girl. Now, I would not select a movie, I would not select a very loud environment. What I would do is I would generally select either a local bar which is nearby my place, so that I can take the girl over to my place after that, or either a coffee shop. Now, another location you can select is a mystery room. There's a lot of mystery rooms where you can take the girl out, and you can, you know, enjoy the mystery room for an hour or 2 hours, then maybe go for a dinner or maybe a coffee after that. And another place, guys, understand, with the coffee shop, I don't have that much investment with the girl. If the date is not going how, I expected it to be, or if the girl is not who I expected her to be, I can just leave it over there. I can just have my coffee, sip my coffee, and get lost. That's why it's the perfect first date idea. Another thing I do is I would call up the girl, I would build comfort, build trust, and I would take her for a long drive. And that long drive generally ends at my crib. Okay, so that's another perfect date idea because I don't need to spend a lot. I'm just picking up the girl, having a conversation, and oh, my house is just over there. Why don't we just go over there, sit in my house? And that is also one of the best date ideas. Another date idea I had was I was talking to this girl, and there was this mountain climbing underground location right near my place. And I was like, okay, why don't we go on an adventure over there? We really don't need to do some mountain climbing. Why don't we go on an adventure over there and just explore the place? And it's like a valley and it's completely safe. So we go over there and we do some rock climbing. And the girl is like, hey, listen, I've had many dates before, but this was an adventurous date. This was actually fun. We got to know each other. We did some adventure together, and it would be a memorable experience for me. Now, another thing I would do is I will take the girl to another, sport like ice skating, where actually I have to talk to the girl, and there's not a lot of music. Where you can actually talk to the girl. There's not a lot of music, and you can actually hold her hand. You can go on with her and you can escalate as well. So I would take a girl on a sport like maybe ice skating or maybe some other arcade or something if I want. First, I would always calibrate what the girl is into as well. If the girl is a person who's like a diva, she doesn't go out that much, she's not familiar with locations like a park or these locations, I would not take her for rock climbing. All right, but if a girl is a little bit adventurous, I would take her to an outdoor date or a rock climbing date. Another thing I would do is I would have these dates where I would just take the girls on a drive, take them to a park and just sit in the park. All right, just sit in the park, enjoy the view, and maybe take a bottle of wine with us. Now guys, do it at your own risk because I know it's not legal in India. This is something I used to do in Singapore, just park dates, and I've done this in India as well, but do it at your own risk. Now these dates are much better than going to a bar or a club, because again, there's a lot of people in the bar and the club, the intimacy is less, you're not able to talk to the woman properly. And also in a bar or club, a lot of times what I've seen is the girl might meet her friends, and if she meets her friends, the date is completely fucked. If you meet your friends, the date is also fucked. So it's better to have a location where it's just the two of you, where you can talk freely, where you can get to know her, and where you can escalate further.